I met Johnny Mescall back in the summer of '82, I think it was. I just graduated from high school the year before. He and his brothers were going to college down in San Diego, and I got invited by a mutual friend to one of their crazy parties, which were always, kind of out of control, a lot of drinking, a lot of juggling, a lot of music. I remember Johnny was kind of the ultimate entertainer. He always wanted people to have a really great time. So he was always doing whatever he could to make it more fun. And, whether they were, slip and slides in the backyard or there was, crazy stuff going on. I remember this one game that they played that was called Bowling for Jesus, where somebody had gone down to Baja and gotten all these cheap plastered Jesus statues, and they'd line them up in the backyard of this apartment and have people bowl for them for shots. It was hilarious, ridiculous, but always a good time. When I moved up to LA in the summer of '84, I just turned 21, and I was, of course, trying to check out all the coolest dive bars in Los Angeles, from Shay J in Santa Monica to the original Al's Bar downtown, the original Firefly in Hollywood, which was this bar. It was this tiny little bar where they'd actually light the bar on fire at midnight every night by pouring like high proof alcohol in the bar and just torching it. And that was a great time until the fire marshals shut it all down. But when I heard that John Mescall had moved up to Los Angeles and was now bartending at the TGI Fridays in Marina del Rey, well, of course, that's where I wanted to hang out because I wanted to watch Johnny pour. Johnny was doing stuff in that bar that I had never imagined could be done. Bottles were flying everywhere, stuff that would never be allowed today. It was just, dangerous and crazy, but they allowed it back then. It was the '80s, Johnny was the center of attention always. You gotta remember, at the time, John Mescall looked like a cross between Elvis Presley and the statue of Bob's Big Boy. It was like Elvis and Bob's Big Boy had had some kind of lunatic, juggling, bartender, love child from outer space. I remember this trick he choreographed, which I think was called the four-corner Long Island iced tea, where Johnny and the three other bartenders at Fridays would each take a corner of this huge square bar in the middle of the restaurant, and they'd chuck liquor bottles at each other, which the other person would catch over their shoulder, pour into a glass, chuck to the next bartender, catch the next one, pour the next one, chuck to the next one, bottles flying literally around a restaurant, packed bar with people yelling and screaming until there was 4 Long Island iced teas, one made in each corner of the bar. How no one was hurt or killed, I have no idea, but it was the '80s, people loved it. And then in '85, I remember the Marina Fridays decided to have this Flair bartending competition. And I guess this was the first one ever in the world, and they were doing it as some kind of promotion. But Johnny had been teaching the other bartenders the tricks. They'd all been practicing for, months. I brought some friends down there who'd never seen this kind of thing before, and I told them, I know this bartender at the Marina Fridays who's, he's the best bartender in the world. And my friends are like, what are you talking about? Best bartender in the world? What, he can make a good drink? I'm like, now you gotta see this. Took them to, they couldn't believe it. We were just, jaws dropped watching this stuff because it was at a higher level than we'd ever seen, even in the months preceding that, because they'd been practicing and coming up with new tricks, and they'd really pushed the limits. And of course, Johnny was always kind of the center of attention because he was not only good at just tricks, but he knew how to engage people, and he was a performer, and he knew how to connect with the audience and how to screw with them. He would sometimes start a trick and then stop because it just looked too dangerous, and then you thought, oh yeah, they're not going to do this, and then he'd reach over and get a knife or something and do something even more dangerous than what he was originally going to do, and then pull it off, and people went nuts. It was crazy. And you do have to remember, at this time, there was nothing like this. There was no, movie Cocktail. That wouldn't come out for, years in the future. There was no Cirque du Soleil at that time. These kind of crazy life risking acrobatic entertainment type thing had really never been done before, except, you know, whatever, high wire act in a circus. But that wasn't done with bottles and knives. It was that level of entertainment. It was like, you know, the high wire act combined with the knife throwing, you know, guy combined with alcohol and party atmosphere. It was just the best thing anyone had ever seen, you know, at the time. We never seen anything like that.